Alright, this is part 2 of our lesson on applications of quadratic functions. An object is propelled upward from the top of a 300-foot building. The path that the object takes as it falls to the ground can be modeled by this equation. T is the time in seconds, and y is the height in feet. Okay, now when will the object reach its maximum height? Let's look at a picture. Alright, so here's a picture of the situation. An object is being thrown, and this time, please be aware that, well, first of all, we don't have x's and y's. In this case, we have t and y. Alright, so instead of x, we have time. So the x value, or what normally would be the x value, is now time. And the y value, you know, like it usually is, I guess, the y value always represents the height, you know, on the graph or whatever it is. But in this case, it's literally the height of the object. Okay, so just keep that in your mind. Oh, and I guess the units. So we're talking about time is going to be in seconds, and height is in feet. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so when will the object reach its maximum height? So as soon as you see that they're asking about the maximum height, then you know we're talking about point B, alright, the vertex. So to find the vertex, we start by doing opposite of B over 2A. That will give us the x value of the vertex. Well, in this case, the t value of the vertex. So let's do that. Alright, so t will equal the opposite of b over 2a. So that's negative 80 over 2 times negative 16. Okay, so that's giving me 5 over 2. For these word problems, a decimal is going to be more helpful than a fraction. So let's go ahead and go with 2.5. Okay, so this is the time that we're finding. Just keep that in mind. So that gives us a time of 2.5. So this is the vertex that we're finding. So we at a time of 2.5 seconds. Okay, and let's go ahead and find the height that goes with this time while we're at it. Okay, I always just like to find both at the same time. So the way we find the y value that goes with this x value of the vertex is we put the equation in the calculator and just look and see. So let's see, negative t squared plus 80t. Okay, use the table feature. Okay, so that's negative 16, and we'll have to go x squared plus 80x plus 300. Okay, it's asking where we want to start. Well, we want to start at the x value of 2.5. So we'll do 2.5. Let's hit enter like 4 times. Okay, so at time 2.5, we're at a height of 400 feet. Okay, so always keep in mind what this represents. Okay, this is the maximum. This is the vertex. So this is the maximum height of the object, and this is the time that it takes to reach the maximum height. Okay, 400 feet, 2.5 seconds. So what are they asking us again? When will the object reach its maximum height? So which one of these numbers do I want right now? Yeah, 2.5 seconds. That's the when. Okay, so yeah, 2.5 seconds. Please don't just put 2.5. When you're doing a word problem like this, the units are very important. What is the maximum height? Well, that's our 400 feet. Okay, what time or times will the object reach 300 feet in height? Okay, so it gets up to a maximum height of 400 feet. But what about 300 feet? Okay, so somewhere in this area, some point along the way, the object is going to reach this height of 300 feet. Okay, and actually it's going to reach this height of 300 feet twice. It's going to hit 300 feet on the way up, and then it's going to hit 300 feet again on the way down. Alright, so we need to find the times of these two, we need to find these two times when it reaches 300 feet. But anyway, 300 feet, that's the y value. So all we need to do is put in 300 for the y value and solve for the time. Okay, so if they're giving us a y value of 300 feet, a height of 300 feet, then this equation becomes 300 equals negative 16t squared plus 80t plus 300. Oh, you know what? That's funny. Okay. The building is 300 feet high, so I shouldn't have, in terms of the way I drew the picture, here's the building, and then I put 300 up here. Now that I think about it, now that I remember, they said the top of a 300-foot building, so I should have drawn it like this. Okay, that 300 feet, let me just move it. That 300 feet is right here at the height of the building. Okay, so that's going to change my thought process. So it's not really going to hit twice this height, because the original 300 feet is the height of the building. Alright, the building itself is 300 feet high. So it's going to start out at 300 feet. So that's going to be times 0. But then it's going to hit 300 feet again when it gets back to this height. When it gets back to 300 feet, like after it goes up and comes back down. So I just need to fix my picture. Anyway, so let's go ahead and solve this. So we will do this by subtracting 300 from both sides, because we need 0 to do the quadratic formula. So if I do that, then I'm going to get 0 equals negative 16t squared plus 80t. Okay? So I'm using the quadratic formula to solve this thing. Be careful. We need to keep track of what A, B, and C is. So this is A, of course. Alright, so A is negative 16. Alright, B, this is B, so that's 80. But what's C? Alright, I don't see the C. It used to be 300, but then we subtracted. Yeah, C is 0. So just be conscious of that. Alright, so when we go to do the quadratic formula, the first thing we do is we find the discriminant, b squared minus 4ac. Okay, so that's going to be 80 squared minus 4 times negative 16 times 0. Okay, now I could type all this in, but 0 times anything is 0. So really 0 is going to wind up canceling out this entire term. So it's really just going to be 80 squared. So if I wanted to be efficient about it, I would just do 80 squared. And really you should even be able to do that in your head, because you know that 8 squared is 64. So 80 squared is 6,400. So that's what it's going to be. Now, let's say if you didn't catch that whole thing about the 0 wiping out this term, then you could type it in, whatever. Alright, so if you sort of just blindly typed in your b squared minus 4ac, then yeah, you're still going to get the same thing. Okay, so we decided that this discriminant was 6,400. Okay, fine. So now we can go ahead and finish the quadratic formula now. Alright, so that should be, so t is equal to opposite of b. Okay, so that would be negative 80 plus or minus the square root, and then we use our discriminant, so 6,400, all over 2a. So that's 2 times negative 16. Okay? A decimal is going to work just fine for us, so let's just use our calculator. So let's just type in this whole expression, but let's type it in once with a plus, and we'll type it in again with a minus. So let's see, negative 80 plus. Okay, so start off in fraction mode right from the beginning. So negative 80 plus the square root of 6,400 all over, alright, was this a negative 16 situation? Yeah. Alright, and just hit enter. So we get 0, as we knew we would. Okay, 0 seconds. Okay, and we knew that would happen because, like I said, if we're talking about 300 feet, that's the height of the building. So it starts out at 300 feet. So of course, that initial time is 0 seconds. All right, but it's the other one that we want. Okay, this the time it takes to get back down. So back to the calculator for the minus version of this. And again, I mean, I could type it all over again and make this minus, but if I use my up arrow key, highlight this, hit enter, it brings the expression back for editing. So I can just shimmy on over to that plus sign, just make it a minus sign, and hit enter. So 5 seconds. Okay, so that's the other time. So this is saying, yeah, we were at 300 feet at the beginning, alright, second 0, but then after 5 seconds, we're back down to 300 feet again. So 5 seconds. Okay, we're right here at 300 feet. Okay. Okay, so I mean, I guess we could say 0 seconds and 5 seconds. Alright, I suppose 0 seconds counts. You know, we can't have negative time, but we could say, you know, right at the start and 5 seconds later is okay. Alright, now, when will the object reach the ground? Alright, obviously if we're talking about the ground, what's the height now? Well, yeah, on the ground, we're talking about point C now. On the ground, the height is 0. So we're just going to basically do the same thing again with the quadratic formula. But this time, we're going to put in 0 for the height. Alright, so at the ground, the height is 0. So if I put in 0 for the height, which is y, then this becomes 0 equals negative 16 t squared plus 80t plus 300. Okay, so again, I'm just going to solve this using the quadratic formula, but this time keeping in mind our new a, b, and c. So a is negative 16, b is 80, and c is 300. Okay, so when we do the quadratic formula, the first thing we always find is the discriminant. So we're going to do our b squared minus 4ac. Okay, so that's going to be 80 squared minus 4 times negative 16 times 300. Alright, always calculate the discriminant first. Alright, 80 squared times, alright, just making sure. Yeah. Okay, so just hit enter. So 25,600. Okay, that's the discriminant. That's my b squared minus 4ac. Okay, so just keep that in the back of your mind. Alright, so now we can go ahead and finish the rest of the quadratic formula. So t will equal opposite of b. Okay, so negative 80. Alright, plus or minus square root. And then that's our discriminant. Alright, all over 2a. Okay, so let's just type this into our calculator. Plus or minus will give us two different values. So we'll type it in once with a plus, and we'll type it in again with a minus. Oh no, I'm going to hit clear. Okay, so start off in fraction mode. So we have negative 80 plus square root, so negative 80 plus square root of, alright, 25,600 over 2 times negative 16. Yeah, feel free to just put negative 32 here if you can do that multiplication in your head. Oh my gosh. And hit enter. So we're getting negative 5 over 2, which as a decimal is negative 2.5, but the bottom line is, alright, time negative 2.5. What, you can't have a negative time, alright? We don't have a time machine. We started at time 0. Alright, we can't go back to before the problem began. So this value right here is extraneous. It doesn't make any sense in the context of the problem. So we're just going to ignore that. So the real answer will be the other one. I don't feel like typing this whole thing in again. So if I use my up arrow key, I can go back to it and just hit enter. Alright, now I can use my left arrow key just to shimmy over and change that plus to a minus and just hit enter. So I got 15 over 2, toggle it. Alright, that's 7.5 seconds. Alright, because remember we're talking about time. Alright, so 7.5 seconds. Okay, so 7.5 seconds, that's when the height was 0. That's when the ball or the object or whatever hits the ground. Okay. Alright, that's another 20-minute problem. Alright, it wouldn't really take us 20 minutes to do this. It's all the talking and explaining. It's why it's taking so long. Alright, but anyway, that's it for problem number 2. And that's going to be it for this video. So, looks like I'm getting one problem per video for these word problems. My goodness gracious.